a discussion to be had about why the Ironheart trailer is dropping now and hasn't dropped sooner along with other promo for the show since it's debuting in June, but we'll just keep it to the trailer for this one. It's dope to see what they've done with Riri Williams in the MCU and how they've modernized it, because that's what they always do with the comic books. They always have to update it, which is why the story changes a bit. It's one thing to have Ryan Coogler as a producer for this, but it's also dope to see that Shinaka Hodge is the writer that made this shit happen. And it's always about the transition into the MCU from the comic books. And the last we saw of Riri was in Wakanda Forever, and we know she's back in town, out here at MIT, getting it from the mud, reverse engineering Tony Stark's work, just like she did in the comic book. And it's so funny to think back to Obadiah Stane being like, Tony Stark made this in a cave with a bunch of scraps, and y'all can't do this shit, to the top minds that were trying to reverse engineer what Tony Stark did. They couldn't do it. Riri Williams did it, just like in the book. And I can already see folks complaining about this online, but like, is that not invention? Is that not engineering, right? That's legit real world shit and what happens in the field. Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. Tesla made a bunch of shit happen for Edison's inventions that he didn't figure out. Then Edison didn't pay that man what he was owed. Don't even get me started on the current wars between Tesla and Edison. But anyway, back to the armor wars. We hear in the trailer that Riri says she wants to be iconic. She wants to leave her mark in Marvel 616. What I find interesting is the introduction of another character into her story. Parker Robbins, the Hood. This is the man that fills the void that's left by the Kingpin in the comics when he gets ousted. I remember when he debuted in 2002 and how I saw him rise from a low-level criminal to a freaking Kingpin. He has no ties to Ironheart, but here is the MCU. They can flip things around. And I like this because it's art imitating life. Sometimes in order to get to a certain position, you gotta do bad things. Allegedly, the Kennedys were bootlegging, and then they rose in status as a family and even won the office. Riri is faced with the choice of getting capital from Parker Robbins. This reminds me of how Tony Stark started out in the weapons industry. Parker Robbins being in Riri Williams' story in MCU changes things, especially because his power is magic based. So we're definitely going to see a clash of technology versus magic. I'm really invested in what choice will she make. Will she take his help, and what are the consequences if she does? Will she deny his help, and what are the consequences if she does? I'll talk more about Parker Robbins, aka the Hood, in a different video, but back to Riri. I'm never going to get tired of seeing these comic characters come to life in a live action. I like that Riri's choice now is, okay, I'm a genius, I'm doing genius shit. What are the choices I'm going to make to really be iconic and stand out? Because when we get down to it, yeah, in the MCU, you can say that Tony Stark's successor is Peter Parker Spider-Man. But in the comic books, it don't rock that way. In the comic books, Riri Williams is the successor to Tony Stark, chosen by Tony Stark himself. Tony put so much respect on this girl's name that he even became the AI for her suit when he was out of commission for a time. So now that we see she was able to reverse engineer Stark technology, I am entirely invested in the way she's going to change the MCU with Stark technology in the ways that Tony Stark didn't think to. If the cards are played right, this is a character that can create a huge change within the entirety of the MCU.